I've spent the last 30 years believing I understood death. Thought I'd seen every variation of it. Traffic accidents on Highway 50, farming equipment gone wrong, domestic disputes that ended with someone not breathing anymore. I was a cop in Thorndale, Kansas for most of my adult life. Population 847. The kind of place where everyone knows your business before you do. But here's what nobody tells you about small towns. Secrets don't stay buried. They ferment. They rot from the inside out, until the smell gets so bad you can't ignore it anymore. My name is Nathan Kersey. I'm 53 years old. I haven't slept properly in 6 weeks. 6 weeks ago, Bertie Hoffman died in her bathroom. Sweet woman. Made the best peach cobbler at the Lutheran church potlucks. They found her on the tile floor, face down, blood pooled around her head like she'd cracked it open on the sink. Coroner said blunt force trauma. Accident, probably. Slip getting out of the shower. Except Bertie was found fully clothed. 2 weeks later, Vernon Kowalski, gruff bastard who ran the feed store. His wife heard him yelling in their bedroom at 2 a.m. By the time she got there, Vernon was dead. Same thing. Head trauma. This time they said he must have fallen, hit the dresser on the way down. Except there was no blood on the dresser. Then Callista York. Then Buck Randolph. Then Esperanza Diaz. 5 deaths in 5 weeks. All of them found near mirrors. Bathroom mirrors. Bedroom mirrors. That big antique one in the Randolph house that Buck's grandmother brought over from Germany. The county sheriff, guy named Pritchard who got the job because his uncle was mayor, kept insisting these were accidents, freak coincidences. People fall, Nathan. Especially old people. But Callista York was 36. I retired from the force 3 years ago after my wife left. Told myself I was done looking at dead bodies, done asking questions nobody wanted to answer. I was going to fish, garden, maybe learn to play guitar. Instead, I'm sitting here in my kitchen at 4 a.m, every mirror in my house covered with bed sheets, trying to figure out how to explain something that sounds like a bad horror movie. Because yesterday, I saw my reflection blink. I wasn't blinking. It smiled at me. Not my smile. Something wearing my face, grinning like it knew a joke I hadn't figured out yet. I ran. Grabbed the hammer from the garage and shattered every piece of glass in my house that could show a reflection. My neighbors think I've lost it. Maybe I have. But I'm alive. And I need to tell you what I've learned. What's happening in Thorndale isn't staying in Thorndale. 3 towns over, they found 2 more bodies yesterday. Same presentation, same evidence or lack of it. Whatever this is, it's spreading. So before I explain how this started, before I walk you through everything I've documented, I need you to do something for me. Go cover your mirrors. Right now. I'll wait. Because if you see it looking back at you, if you see your reflection do something you didn't do, you won't have time to run. The first time I visited a death scene after retirement, I told myself it was just curiosity, old habits. Bertie Hoffman's daughter, Ruthie, called me the day after they found her mother, voice shaking on the phone. "Something's wrong, Nathan." Mom didn't slip. She wouldn't. I went because Ruthie made good coffee and because I had nothing better to do. Her mother's house smelled like lavender soap and old carpet. The bathroom was small, floral wallpaper, clawfoot tub, medicine cabinet hanging crooked above the sink. "The blood was here," Ruthie said, pointing to a spot near the toilet. "But look at the angle. If she slipped getting out of the tub, she would have fallen toward the door, not not backward into the wall. She was right. The trajectory made no sense. And this. Ruthie opened the medicine cabinet. Inside, every bottle and tube was lined up with the labels facing outward, perfectly arranged. Mom was particular about things, but this? She organized this the morning she died. Why would she do that right before taking a shower? I didn't have an answer. Sheriff Pritchard said I'm grieving, that I'm looking for meaning where there isn't any. Ruthie's eyes were red. But you know Mom. She was healthy, sharp. She didn't just fall. I walked around the bathroom again, trying to see it the way I used to. Evidence, patterns, logic. That's when I noticed the mirror above the sink had a crack running through it. Spiderweb pattern, like something had hit it from the front. Was this broken before? I asked. Ruthie shook her head. No. I asked the coroner about it. He said Mom must have hit it when she fell. But she fell away from the sink. I know. We stood there in silence. Outside, a dog barked. Someone's lawnmower coughed to life down the street. There's one more thing, Ruthie said quietly. I didn't tell the sheriff because it sounds... I don't know. But the night before Mom died, she called me around midnight. Said she'd been hearing noises in the house. Footsteps. Like someone walking around in her bedroom. Did she call the police? No. She said when she got up to check, the sound stopped, but... Nathan... She told me something strange. She said she saw herself in the bedroom mirror. And for just a second, she thought her reflection was standing a few inches to the left of where it should be. The hair on my arms prickled. I told her it was probably just tired eyes. Ruthie continued. She'd been taking that new blood pressure medication. But now, I thought about the way the mirror was cracked, the way Birdie's body was positioned, the perfect organization of her medicine cabinet, like someone had spent time arranging it. Someone who wasn't Birdie. Do me a favor, I said. Don't use this bathroom for a while. Actually, don't use any of the mirrors in this house. Ruthie stared at me. What? Just humor me. I left before she could ask more questions, drove home with my windows down trying to clear my head. The wheat fields on either side of County Road 12 were turning gold in the afternoon light. Combines worked in the distance, throwing up dust clouds. When I got home, I poured myself 2 fingers of bourbon and sat on my porch. My house is a ranch style built in the 70s, nothing fancy, but it's mine. Has been since the divorce. I pulled out my phone and started searching. Birdie Hoffman, 73, dead. Accidental fall. Then I searched for unusual deaths in Kansas. Took me an hour of scrolling through news sites and obituaries before I found something that made my stomach turn. 3 months ago, Garden City, a man named Webb Torres found dead in this home. Head trauma. They'd ruled it an accident too. The article included one detail that most people probably skipped over. Torres was found in front of his bathroom mirror. His teenage son told reporters his father had been acting strange the week before his death. Said he kept insisting someone was in the house, watching him. I set my phone down. This wasn't grief. This wasn't coincidence. Something was happening. Vernon Kowalski died on a Tuesday. I know because I was supposed to pick up chicken feed from his store that afternoon, and instead I found a closed "Do the Family Emergency" sign taped to the door. His wife Ingrid wouldn't talk to me at first, wouldn't talk to anyone. But Vernon and I went back 30 years. He'd helped me build my deck. I'd helped them install new shelving in the store. So I showed up at their house 3 days after the funeral with a casserole I bought from the grocery store and waited on the porch until she answered. Ingrid looked like she'd aged a decade. Her eyes were hollow, skin gray. "I can't do this right now, Nathan." "I know, but I need to ask you something about the night Vernon died." She started to close the door. "Please," I said. "It's important. It might help prevent..." "Prevent what?" Her voice cracked. "My husband is dead." "What exactly are you going to prevent?" I hesitated, then said, "Did Vernon say anything strange before he died?" "About mirrors?" Ingrid's face changed. Something flickered behind her eyes. Recognition, maybe fear. "How did you know about that?" She let me inside. The living room was dark, curtains drawn. Family photos lined the mantel. Vernon in his army uniform, their daughter's wedding, grandkids at the lake. "Coffee?" Ingrid asked, already moving toward the kitchen. "Sure." While she made it, I noticed something. Every mirror in the house was turned to face the wall. The big one over the fireplace, the decorative one in the hallway, even the small circular mirror that used to hang by the coat rack. Ingrid came back with 2 mugs, handed me one. Her hands trembled. "Vernon started acting different about a week before he died," she said, sitting across from me. "Kept saying he felt watched. I thought maybe it was stress. The store wasn't doing great. Grain prices were down. But then he stopped using the bathroom mirror. Started shaving in the kitchen with a hand mirror instead." "Did he say why?" "Not at first. But 3 nights before it happened, I woke up and he wasn't in bed. Found him standing in our bedroom, staring at the mirror on my vanity, just standing there in the dark." She sipped her coffee, avoiding my eyes. I asked him what he was doing. He said it moved wrong. I asked what moved wrong, and he pointed at the mirror. Said his reflection had turned its head before he did. The coffee tasted like ash in my mouth. I told him he was exhausted, needed to see a doctor. He got angry, said I wasn't listening, started ranting about how something was wrong with all the mirrors, how they were showing things that hadn't happened yet, or maybe things that were happening somewhere else. She set her mug down. I thought he was having a breakdown. "What happened the night he died?" Ingrid's voice dropped to barely a whisper. "I heard him yelling around 2 a.m. Ran to our bedroom and he was on the floor, thrashing like something was on top of him. But Nathan, there was nothing there. Nothing I could see. He was fighting air." "Then what?" He looked at the mirror, my vanity mirror, and his face just went slack. Like all the fight went out of him. He said, "Oh, it's me." And then she wiped her eyes. Vim's head jerked backward. Hard, like someone had grabbed his hair and yanked. I heard his skull crack against the footboard. After that, he didn't move. I sat there, trying to process what she was telling me. The coroner said he had a seizure, but the head trauma was from falling during convulsions. But Nathan, I saw it. Whatever killed my husband, it wasn't a seizure. Why did you turn the mirrors around? Because 2 days after Vernon died, I was brushing my teeth, and I saw something in the bathroom mirror. Just for a second. My reflection's mouth kept moving after I'd closed mine. She looked at me directly for the first time. I haven't looked at the mirror since. I'm not going to. I asked if I could see their bedroom. She led me upstairs, staying in the hallway while I went in. The room was neat, bed made, everything in its place. The vanity mirror was covered with a pillowcase. I lifted the corner of the fabric. My reflection stared back at me. Normal. Nothing strange. I let the fabric drop and turned to leave. That's when I caught movement in my peripheral vision. Just a flicker in the covered mirror. Like something had shifted behind the pillowcase. I didn't look back. Downstairs, I thanked Ingrid and headed for my truck. My hands shook as I started the engine. That night, I covered every mirror in my house with bed sheets. Callista York's death hit different because I'd known her since she was 16. She'd been a dispatcher at the station back when I was still working, bright kid with a sharp memory for details. She'd moved to Wichita for college, came back 3 years ago to help her father run his accounting firm. They found her in her apartment above the old pharmacy on Main Street. Her father, Gil, discovered her when she didn't show up for work. The door was unlocked. Callista was sprawled in her hallway 10 feet from her bathroom. Sheriff Pritchard didn't even pretend to investigate this one, called her the fall, same as the others. But Gil York had been my accountant for 20 years, and when he called me, I heard something in his voice that made me drive over immediately. His office was above the hardware store, accessed by a narrow staircase that smelled like paint thinner and old wood. Gil sat at his desk, surrounded by file boxes and adding machine tape, looking like he hadn't slept. "They're lying to me," he said before I even sat down. "Or they're incompetent. Either way, my daughter deserves better." "What did the coroner say?" "Blunt force trauma to the back of the skull. Said she must have slipped, fallen backward." Gil pulled out a folder, spread crime scene photos across his desk. I didn't ask how he'd gotten them. "Look at this." The photo showed Callista lying face down in the hallway, blood pooled beneath her head. But Gil was right. If she'd fallen backward, she would have been face up. They said she must have crawled after hitting her head, then collapsed. Gil continued. "But Nathan, look at her hands." I leaned closer. Callista's hands were positioned oddly, fingers splayed like she'd been trying to grab something, or push something away. "There's more." Gil pulled out his phone, showed me a text conversation. "She sent me this the night before she died." The messages read, "Dead. This is going to sound weird, but I think someone's been in my apartment. Nothing's missing, but things are moved. My bathroom stuff especially. Everything's rearranged." Gil had replied, "Did you call the police?" "No, because I can't prove it, and I think maybe I'm just tired. Been working late all week. But Dad, I keep seeing myself in weird places." The last message stopped me cold. What does that mean? Weird places? I asked her that. She never replied. This was at 11:47 p.m. They think she died sometime between midnight and 2 a.m. I sat back thinking about Bertie's medicine cabinet, perfectly organized by someone who wasn't Bertie. About Vernon's reflection moving Rom. Gil, I need to ask you something. Did Callista say anything about mirrors? His face changed. How did you... Yes, she did. About a week before she died, we were having lunch at the diner. She asked me if I'd ever noticed my reflection doing something I didn't do. I laughed it off, told her she needed more sleep. She got quiet after that. Can I see her apartment? Sheriff has it locked up. Crime scene, even though he claims there's no crime. I know where Pritchard keeps his keys. 20 minutes later, we were standing outside Callista's apartment. The door had police tape across it, already peeling at the edges. Gil had convinced the pharmacy owner to let us up the back stairs. Inside, the apartment was frozen in time. Dishes in the sink, coffee mug on the counter, lipstick prints still visible on the rim. A romance novel face down on the couch, bookmark halfway through. The bathroom was at the end of a short hallway. I could see the blood stain on the hardwood from where we stood. "You don't have to come," I told Gil. She was my daughter. We walked down the hallway together. The bathroom was tiny. Toilet, sink, combination shower tub, and a medicine cabinet with a mirror. I stared at that mirror. It looked ordinary, reflected the bathroom behind me, reflected Gil standing in the hallway, reflected my own tired face. But something felt wrong. "Gil, when was the last time you looked at yourself in the mirror?" "This morning." "Why?" "Look at this one. Tell me if anything seems off." He stepped closer, peered at his reflection, frowned. "I don't... Wait. What?" "My tie. I'm wearing a blue tie, but in the mirror, it's red." I looked. He was right. Gil's reflection wore a red tie while he stood there in blue. "Step back," I said quietly, slowly. As Gil backed away, I watched his reflection. It didn't move quite in sync, lagged maybe half a second behind. "Jesus Christ," Gil whispered. Then, his reflection smiled. Gil wasn't smiling. I grabbed his arm, pulled him away from the bathroom. We stumbled backward into the hallway and I heard it. A sound like fingernails on glass coming from the medicine cabinet mirror. "We need to leave. Now." We ran. Down the stairs, through the pharmacy's back room, out onto Main Street in broad daylight. A couple of tourists stared at us. Mrs. Kaminsky from the library waved, probably wondered why Gil and I looked like we'd seen death itself. "What was that?" Gil asked, hands on his knees, breathing hard. "What the hell was that?" "I don't know. But your daughter saw it too. So did Vernon Kowalski. So did Bertie Hoffman. They're all dead, Nathan." "I know." We stood there on the sidewalk, afternoon sun beating down on us. Across the street, the post office flag hung limp in the still air. A dog panted in the shade of the antique store awning. "What do we do?" Gil asked. "First, we cover every mirror in your house. Then we figure out what the hell is happening and how to stop it." "And if we can't stop it?" "And if we can't stop it?" I didn't have an answer for that. That night I couldn't sleep. Kept thinking about Callista's text messages. I keep seeing myself in weird places. About Vernon's last words. It's me. Around midnight, I got up to get water from the kitchen. Walked past my hallway, where I'd hung sheets over the mirror by the front door. The sheet was moving. Not like wind was blowing it. Moving like something behind it was pressing against the glass, testing the barrier. I stood there in my boxers and old police academy t-shirt, watching fabric bulge and shift. Then I heard it. Muffled but distinct. Knocking. Something on the other side of my covered mirror was knocking, trying to get my attention. I went back to my bedroom, locked the door, and sat on my bed with my service pistol on my lap until dawn. Not that bullets would help. You can't shoot a reflection. Buck Randolph owned half the farmland between Thorndale and the county line. His family had been in Kansas since before statehood, and his grandmother's antique mirror, shipped from Bavaria in 1883, was the pride of this collection. Oak frame, beveled glass, supposedly worth $15,000. They found him crumpled at its base like discarded laundry. I heard about it from Maybelle at the post office while I was mailing my property tax check. She leaned over the counter, voice low even though we were the only ones there. Heard Buck's boy found him this morning, face all smashed in. Shamp's already calling it accidental, but Buck's wife is raising hell, says Pritchard needs to investigate proper. Where's Buck now? Funeral home. Close casket, I expect. I drove out to the Randolph place that afternoon. Their house sat at the end of a long gravel driveway, surrounded by soybean fields that stretched to the horizon. A blue Silverado was parked out front. Buck's son, probably. Delphine Randolph answered the door. She was 68, still elegant despite the grief carved into her face. Her hand shook when she reached out to take mine. Nathan, thank God. I called the station, but Pritchard won't listen. Says I'm in shock. Says Buck just fell. Can I come in? She led me through a house that smelled like furniture polish and fresh-cut flowers. Photos everywhere. Buck on his combine. Buck at their 50th wedding anniversary. Buck holding his first grandchild. The son, Junior, sat in the living room, staring at nothing. He looked up when we entered, eyes red. Tell him what you told me, Delphine said. Junior's voice came out hoarse. I stayed here last night. Dad hadn't been sleeping well. Mom was worried. Around 1 a.m., I heard him talking to someone downstairs. Thought maybe he'd turn on the TV. But when I came down, he stopped, collected himself. He was standing in front of Grandma's mirror. Just standing there, having a conversation with his reflection. Except, Junior looked at me. Except the reflection was talking back. Moving its mouth at different times. Saying different things. What was it saying? I couldn't make out words. But Dad was arguing with it, telling it to stop, to leave him alone. Then he saw me on the stairs and told me to go back to bed. Said he had it under control. But you didn't go back to bed? No. I sat on the stairs, listening. Dad kept arguing with the mirror for maybe 10 minutes. Then everything went quiet. I waited, then came down to check on him. Junior's hands clenched. The mirror was empty. No reflection at all, not even the room behind it, just nothing. Black glass. Delphine gripped the armrest of her chair. I called for Dad, Junior continued. No answer. Checked every room downstairs. He wasn't there. I was about to go upstairs when I heard glass crack. Ran back to the mirror and Dad was there again. His reflection, I mean. But it was doing things he wasn't doing. Touching its face, turning around, examining itself like it had just put on a new coat. Where was Buck? That's what I'm trying to tell you. He wasn't there, just his reflection. Then the reflection noticed me. It smiled. Jesus, that smile. And pointed up. Up where? The ceiling. I looked up and there was nothing. When I looked back at the mirror, Dad was lying on the floor, blood everywhere. The reflection was gone. The three of us sat in silence. Outside, a tractor rumbled past on the county road. Can I see the mirror? I asked. Delphine and Junior exchanged glances. We covered it, Delphine said. With a quilt. I'm not uncovering it. I understand. Can I just look at the room? They led me to what they called the parlor, formal sitting room with Victorian furniture and Buck's collection of antique farm equipment photos. The mirror dominated one wall, 7 feet tall, now hidden beneath a patchwork quilt Delphine's mother had made. The floor in front of it was clean, but I could see where they'd scrubbed. The wood was lighter in patches, still damp. Did anyone take photos of the scene? I did, Junior said quietly, before the sheriff got here. Figured nobody would believe us otherwise. He pulled out his phone, showed me. The images were brutal. Buck's face crushed, blood spattered on the mirror's oak frame. But what caught my attention was something else. Can you zoom in on the mirror? Junior expanded the image. In the reflection, you could see the room. The furniture, the walls, Junior's legs visible at the bottom of the frame where he'd been standing. But Buck's body wasn't reflected. The mirror showed the empty floor where his corpse should have been. That's not possible, I said. But even as the words left my mouth, I knew they meant nothing now. Nothing was following the old rules. There's something else, Delphine said. Day before Buck died, he told me he'd started seeing someone in the mirror who looked like him, but younger. Said it was like looking at himself from 20 years ago. He thought maybe it was stress or his blood pressure medication. Did he seem scared? Not at first. Almost seemed curious. But then the young version started doing things differently, moving out of sync. Buck would raise his right hand and the reflection would raise its left. He'd smile and it would frown. She twisted her wedding ring. The night before he died, he came to bed white as paste. Said the reflection had aged, caught up to him, looked exactly like him now. Did he say anything else? Yes, he said the reflection knew things, personal things Buck had never told anyone, details about his childhood, about his time in Vietnam, about mistakes he'd made. Delphine's voice cracked. Buck said it was like looking at everything he buried, coming back to judge him. I thought about Vernon's last words. It's me. Not, it's coming for me, or help me. Just recognition. Acknowledgement. Mrs. Randolph, did Buck have any enemies? Anyone who'd want to hurt him? You think someone did this? I'm trying to understand what we're dealing with. Buck was a good man. Fair. He could be stubborn, but he wasn't cruel. I can't imagine anyone hating him enough for... She gestured toward the cupboard nearer. Junior spoke up. Detective Kersey. Just Nathan. I'm not on the force anymore. Nathan. You believe us, right? About what's happening? I looked at this kid who'd watched his father die in a way that defied explanation. Looked at Delphine, who'd lost her husband to something wearing his face. Yeah, I said. I believe you. So what do we do? First, you destroy that mirror. Don't just cover it. Break it. Burn it if you have to. Second, you cover or remove every reflective surface in this house. Third, you tell everyone you know to do the same. Pritchard will think we're crazy. Pritchard can think whatever he wants. He'll figure it out when it's his reflection standing over his body. I left the Randolph house as the sun started setting, painting the soybean fields orange and gold. Beautiful evening. Wrong time for beauty. On the drive home, I called Gil York. We need to meet. Tonight. What happened? Another death. Buck Randolph. His son saw the whole thing. Gil was quiet for a moment. Nathan, I've been making calls. Garden City isn't the only place. There have been similar deaths in Dodge City, Liberal, even up in Colby, all in the last 6 months, all ruled accidents. How many? At least 15 that I found. Could be more. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. This isn't isolated. No, it's spreading. And Nathan, I found something else. An old newspaper article from 1952. 3 deaths in Thorndale that year. All the same presentation. Victims found near mirrors. Head trauma. No clear cause. What happened? Nothing. The death stopped. No explanation in any of the articles I found. But there was a quote from the sheriff at the town. He said the town had learned to respect old boundaries, and that everyone needed to stop looking where they shouldn't. I pulled over on the side of the road, dust billowing around my truck. Gil, someone knew. 70 years ago, someone in Thorndale knew about this. The question is, why did it stop then? And why is it happening again now? I didn't have an answer, but I was starting to think we needed to find someone who did, before it was too late. Esperanza Diaz worked the night shift at the truck stop off I-70. 28 years old, studying to be a veterinary technician, sent money back to her family in Topeka every month. I knew her because she always gave me extra coffee when I stopped in during my insomniac nights. She died on a Thursday. Never made it home from her shift. They found her in the truck stop bathroom at 6 a.m. when the morning manager came in. Single stall, gray tile, one of those cheap rectangular mirrors bolted above the sink. Esperanza was wedged between the toilet and the wall, neck bent at an angle that made my stomach turn just hearing about it. I didn't find out until Gil called me that afternoon. Nathan, you need to get down here. The truck stop. Something's wrong. What do you mean? Just come. Bring your gun. I found Gil in the parking lot, standing next to his Buick, face gray. Behind him, Sheriff Pritchard's cruisers sat near the entrance, lights off. What's going on? I asked. Esperanza Diaz. I knew her father, did his taxes for years. When I heard about her death, I came to. He stopped, took a breath. The bathroom near. Nathan, it's still there. Nobody's covered it. So I looked at it. My blood went cold. Gil, Jesus Christ, why would you? I had to know. Had to confirm what we're dealing with. He grabbed my arm. It's not just showing the wrong reflection anymore. It's showing the future. Or maybe the past. I saw myself in that mirror, Nathan. But I was wrong. Different. Different how? Older. Maybe 10 years older. And I was smiling, but it wasn't my smile. It was how someone else might smile if they were pretending to be me. Sheriff Pritchard emerged from the truck stop, coffee in hand, face tired. When he saw us, he walked over. Kersey, heard you've been sticking your nose in my cases. They're not cases if you're calling them accidents. Pritchard's jaw tightened. You got something to say? Say it. 5 deaths in 5 weeks, all near mirrors. You see a pattern there? I see a retired cop with too much time on his hands seeing conspiracies where there ain't any. He sipped his coffee. Esperanza slipped on a wet floor. Hit her head. Tragic, but that's all it is. The floor was wet? Well, it's a bathroom. Was it wet when they found her? Pritchard didn't answer. That's what I thought. I stepped closer. You know what's happening, don't you? Or at least you suspect. I don't know what you're talking about. 1952. 3 deaths that stopped when people respected old boundaries. Your grandfather was sheriff then, wasn't he? Something flickered across Pritchard's face. Fear, maybe. A recognition. Stay out of this, Nathan. I'm warning you. People are dying. And they'll keep dying if idiots like you keep poking around. He threw his coffee cup in a nearby trash can. There are things in this world that don't need explaining. Don't need investigating. They just need to be left alone. So you do know something. Pritchard looked at me for a long moment. Then, my grandfather told me a story once, right before he died. Said back in 52, people started seeing things in mirrors. Versions of themselves that weren't quite right. 3 people died before the town figured out what was happening. What was happening? Something got loose. Something that lives in reflections, feeds on them. Grandfather said it's always been there, in every mirror, every piece of glass, waiting. Usually it stays dormant, but every few decades it wakes up, gets hungry. How did they stop it? They didn't. They made a deal. Gil and I exchanged glances. What kind of deal? I asked. The kind you don't talk about. The kind that cost something. Pritchard's voice dropped. Grandfather said they gave it what it wanted. After that, it went back to sleep. What did it want? Pritchard looked toward the truck stop, toward that bathroom with its cheap mirror. Someone to keep. The implications hit me like a fist to the gut. They sacrificed someone. I don't know the details. Grandfather wouldn't say. But after it was done, the death stopped. Stayed stopped for 70 years. He turned back to us. Until now. Why now? Gil asked. What changed? Maybe nothing changed. Maybe it just got hungry again. Pritchard headed for his cruiser. You want my advice? Cover your mirrors. Tell everyone you know to cover theirs. And pray it fills up on what it's already taken and goes back to sleep. And if it doesn't? Pritchard didn't answer, just got in his car and drove away. Gil and I stood in the parking lot watching dust settle on the highway. We need to see that bathroom mirror, I said. Nathan, I already looked, I told you. I need to see it myself. The truck stop manager, a kid named Wesley who couldn't have been older than 22, let us in. The bathroom was cordoned off with caution tape, but Wesley said the sheriff had cleared the scene an hour ago. Esperanza was good people, Wesley said, voice thick. Didn't deserve this. The bathroom was exactly as I'd pictured it. Single stall, gray tile, fluorescent light buzzing overhead. The mirror above the sink looked ordinary, cheap glass in a plastic frame, the kind you could buy at any hardware store. I stood in front of it, hands shaking. Don't, Gil said from the doorway. Nathan, don't look. But I had to know, had to understand what we were dealing with. I looked. My reflection stared back at me. Normal. Same tired eyes, same gray stumble, same faded police academy shirt I'd thrown on that morning. Then it blinked. I hadn't blinked. Nathan, my reflection said. Not my voice. Close, but wrong. like someone doing an impression they'd almost perfected. "Nathan," it said again. "I've been waiting for you." I wanted to look away, wanted to run, but I stood there, frozen, watching this thing that wore my face like a mask. "You can't stop this," it said. "It's already done. We're already here. What are you?" It smiled. Wrong. Too wide. Teeth showing in ways my mouth couldn't physically achieve. "We're you. Better versions. The ones who don't make mistakes. Don't feel guilt. Don't grow old and tired and full of regret. You're killing people. We're replacing them. Taking their lives. Living them better." The reflection leaned closer to the glass, even though I hadn't moved. Bertie Hoffman. Her reflection volunteers at the senior center now. Smiles at everyone. Never complains about her arthritis. Vernon Kowalski's reflection runs his store better than he ever did. Callista York's reflection got that promotion she always wanted. I felt sick. "They're living your lives," Gil said behind me, voice shaking. "They're taking over." My reflection nodded. "And soon, Nathan, you'll see yourself in this mirror. The better you. The one who doesn't wake up at 3 a.m. thinking about his ex-wife. The one who doesn't drink bourbon alone on his porch. The one who isn't broken. I'd rather be broken than be you. Would you?" It tilted its head, the movement too smooth, too fluid. "We'll see. When your time comes, we'll see what you choose." I finally managed to look away, grabbed Gil's arm and pulled him out of that bathroom, through the truck stop, into the parking lot where the afternoon sun felt like salvation. "Jesus," Gil gasped. "Jesus Christ, Nathan." I leaned against my truck, trying to catch my breath. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. "It's not just killing them," I said. "It's replacing them. Taking their places, living as them." Then who's really dead? The person or the reflection? I didn't know. Didn't want to know. But I knew one thing. If we didn't find a way to stop this, soon there wouldn't be anyone left in Thorndale who was actually human. Just reflections. Pretending to be. I spent that night researching. Gil brought over everything he'd found. Newspaper archives, obituaries, census records from 1952. We spread it all across my kitchen table, coffee growing cold in our mugs as we pieced together what happened 70 years ago. The 3 deaths that year: Harold Voss, 45, farmer; Constance Reimer, 62, librarian; Silas Webb, 31, schoolteacher. All found dead near mirrors. All ruled accidental. Then, on November 3rd, 1952, a 4th death. Margaret Sutton, 23, seamstress. But this one was different. "Look at the obituary," Gil said, pointing to the yellowed newspaper. "It says she died in her sleep. Natural causes. But there's a notation in the margins here. Someone wrote, 'volunteer' in pencil." Volunteer for what? I think Margaret Sutton was the sacrifice. The deal Pritchard's grandfather made. Gil pulled out another document. And get this. After her death, the sheriff's department issued a town-wide advisory. Says here that all citizens were instructed to keep mirrors covered between midnight and dawn for public safety reasons. No explanation given. Did people comply? Must have. There are no more unexplained deaths in Thorndale until this year. I stared at Margaret Sutton's photograph in the obituary. Young woman, dark hair, shy smile. Someone's daughter. Someone's friend. They murdered her, I said quietly. Well, she agreed to it. The note says volunteer. You think someone would volunteer to be killed by their own reflection? Gil didn't answer. We both knew desperation could make people agree to terrible things. Around midnight, my phone rang. Junior Randolph. Nathan, you need to come out here. Something's happening. What kind of something? The mirror. We tried to destroy it like you said, but it won't break. 20 minutes later, I was back at the Randolph farm. Junior met me at the door, sledgehammer in hand, sweating despite the cool night. We tried everything, he said, leading me to the parlor. Hammer, axe, even shot it with Dad's hunting rifle. Nothing works. The quilt was gone. The mirror stood exposed, glass pristine, reflecting the room perfectly. On the floor around it lay the shattered remains of what I assumed were other mirrors. The bathroom mirror, bedroom mirrors, all destroyed. But Grandma's antique mirror remained untouched. Show me, I said. Junior raised the sledgehammer, swung hard. The hammer bounced off the glass like he'd hit rubber, not even a crack. Let me try. I took the hammer, put everything I had into the swing. The impact jarred my arms, sent vibrations up to my shoulders. The glass didn't even chip. It's not real glass, Delphine said from the doorway. Not anymore. That thing has changed it into something else. I stepped back, studying the mirror. My reflection studied me back, but now I knew it wasn't really me. It was something wearing my face, waiting. Mrs. Randolph, do you know anything about Margaret Sutton? Her face went pale. How do you know that name? She died in 1952, around the same time this started happening before. Delphine sat down heavily in one of the Victorian chairs. Margaret was my aunt, my mother's sister. The room went quiet. She never talked about her much, Delphine continued. But once, when I was a girl, I asked about the woman in the photograph on her dresser. Mother told me Margaret had saved the town, that she'd given herself to the mirrors so others could live. What does that mean? Junior asked. I don't know. Mother wouldn't explain. Just said Margaret had been very brave and we should honor her memory by following the rules. Delphine looked at the mirror. The rules were simple. Cover all mirrors at night. Never speak to your reflection. Never acknowledge if it does something you don't do. Your family kept those rules? For 70 years. Everyone in town did. The old families, anyway. But people forget. Young people move in, don't know the history. The rules get ignored. She gestured at the mirror. And now it's awake again. I thought about Callista, new to town, living in an apartment with an uncovered bathroom mirror. About Esperanza, working night shifts at a truck stop nobody had thought to warn. We need to find out exactly what Margaret did, I said. How she stopped it. Oh, we need to find someone willing to do it again, Gil said quietly. We all looked at him. You heard Pritchard. They made a deal. Gave it someone to keep. Maybe that's the only way. You're talking about murder, Junior said. I'm talking about saving a town. Maybe saving more than that, if this spreads. No. I shook my head. There has to be another way. But even as I said it, I felt the truth settling in my gut like stones. Some problems don't have good solutions, only terrible ones. My phone buzzed. Text from Wesley at the truck stop. 911. Come now. It's happening again. We left the Randolph place, Gil and I speeding down Highway 40 toward I-70. The truck stop glowed in the distance, fluorescent lights harsh against the dark prairie. Wesley met us in the parking lot, eyes wild. It's in all of them. Every mirror in this place, bathrooms, the ones above the sinks in the restaurant, even the rear view mirrors in the parked trucks. What's in them? Her. Esperanza. She's in every single one, staring out. But Nathan, she's not dead. She's moving, trying to talk. She keeps pointing at something. We ran inside. The restaurant was empty, chairs up on tables. Wesley led us to the bathroom where Esperanza had died. She was there, in the mirror, moving, alive, mouth forming words we couldn't hear. Her hands pressed against the glass from the inside. Behind her, in the reflection, we could see others. Bertie Hoffman, Vernon Kowalski, Callista York, Buck Randolph. All of them trapped. All of them trying to communicate. And in the corner of the reflection, partially hidden by the others, I saw someone else. A young woman in a 1950s dress. Margaret Sutton. Still there after 70 years. Still trapped. Oh, God, Gil whispered. The sacrifice didn't stop it. It just fed it, kept it satisfied temporarily. The figures in the mirror moved aside. Esperanza pointed frantically at something behind us. I turned. My reflection stood in the bathroom doorway. But I was still, looking at the mirror. My reflection smiled at me. Not the smile from the truck stop mirror. This one was worse. Familiar. It was the exact smile I'd given my ex-wife the day I told her I'd changed, that I'd be better, knowing even then it was a lie. Hello, Nathan. It said in my voice. Perfect pitch, perfect cadence. Gil backed toward the wall. Wesley made a sound like a wounded animal. You're not me, I said, hand moving toward my hip where my service pistol used to hang, but I'd left it in the truck. Stupid. Not yet. My reflection stepped closer. But soon. Very soon. Behind me, the mirror showed Esperanza and the others pounding on the glass, mouths open and silent screams. They're alive in there, I said. You trapped them. We freed them. No more pain, no more aging, no more regret. They exist perfectly now, preserved. It tilted its head, my head, studying me. You'll understand when it's your turn. I'm not going in there. Everyone thinks that. But you will. They all do, eventually. Because deep down, you know you're broken. And we're the fixed version. I thought about the bourbon on my porch, the 3 a.m. insomnia, the way I couldn't look at wedding photos without feeling like I'd swallowed glass. My reflection was right about one thing. I was broken. But I'd earned those breaks. They were mine. No, I said. My reflection's smile faded. Then we'll take you anyway. It lunged. I've been in fights, plenty of them during my years on the force, but this was different. My reflection moved like it knew every move I'd make because it was me. Every feint, every dodge, every desperate swing, it anticipated them all. We crashed through tables in the restaurant, sent chairs flying. Gil tried to help, grabbed my reflection's arm, but it shoved him back effortlessly. Wesley ran, smart kid. My reflection got me in a chokehold, dragging me backward toward the bathroom, toward the mirror. I could see Esperanza's face in the glass, still trying to warn me. The real question, my reflection whispered in my ear, is who are you really fighting? Me or yourself? I drove my elbow back, connected with ribs. The grip loosened. I spun, grabbed a chair, swung it hard. My reflection dodged, but not quite fast enough. The chair caught its shoulder, sent it stumbling. That's when I understood. It wasn't perfect. It was me. But the me from 20 years ago. Before the bad knee. Before the arthritis in my left hand. It was faster, stronger, but it didn't know about those injuries. Didn't compensate for them the way I'd learned to. I dropped low, pivoted on my good knee, swept its legs. It fell hard, surprise on its face. My face. You're right, I said, standing over it. You are a better version. But you don't know what it cost to become this one. I ran, not to my truck, to the kitchen, burst through the swinging doors, found what I needed. A deep fryer, oil still hot from the dinner shift. My reflection recovered quickly, followed me in. Nathan, don't. I grabbed the fryer's handle, swung it. Hot oil arced through the air. My reflection screamed. First time I'd heard it show real pain. The oil splattered across its face. My face, skin blistering. But instead of blood, something else leaked through the wounds. Something that looked like liquid glass, catching the fluorescent light. It stumbled back, clawing at its face. The flesh began to crack, spiderweb patterns spreading like breaking glass. You can't kill me, it hissed. I'm already dead. I'm already everything you're not. Maybe, I said, but you bleed different. I hit it again with the fryer, full force. It shattered. Not like flesh breaking, like a mirror breaking. My reflection exploded in the fragments, shards of something between glass and ice scattering across the kitchen floor. Each piece reflected a different moment from my life. My wedding day, my first arrest, my father's funeral. All of it contained in these broken pieces of a thing that had tried to be me. Gil appeared in the doorway, breathing hard. Nathan? Is it gone? I think. I looked at the fragments. They were already dissolving, turning to smoke or mist or something less than both. We walked back to the bathroom. The mirror was dark now. Black glass, no reflections at all. But I could still see them. Esperanza, the others, Margaret Sutton. Faint outlines in the darkness. Trapped. We have to break them out, Gil said. We can't. You saw what happened at the Randolph place. The mirrors won't break. Then what do we do? I stared at those trapped faces, thought about Margaret Sutton, 70 years in there. Thought about Esperanza, who've given me extra coffee and never deserved this. We warn everyone, I said. We tell them to cover their mirrors. Destroy the ones that can be destroyed. Avoid the ones that can't. That's not a solution. that's just survival. Sometimes that's all there is. We left the truck stop as dawn broke over the prairie, sky bleeding red and gold. Behind us, those trapped faces watch from the dark glass, waiting for someone to free them. Someone braver than me. Someone who knew how to kill something that existed in reflection rather than reality. But I wasn't that person. I was just a broken man who'd barely survived his own mirror image. It's been 6 weeks since that night at the truck stop. The sound of breaking glass has become as common in Thorndale as birdsong used to be. People believe me, not because they trusted my story, but because they started seeing it themselves. The reflections moving wrong, smiling at inappropriate moments, blinking out of sync. Fear spreads faster than reason. Every mirror in town is gone now. Bathroom mirrors ripped from walls, leaving pale rectangles on the paint. Medicine cabinets pulled down and smashed in driveways. The hardware store sold out of sledgehammers in 3 days. People drive to Salina or Hayes for mirrors now, and those don't last long either. The ones that won't break, like Buck Randolph's antique, we've sealed behind brick and concrete. Junior hired a contractor to wall off the entire parlor. Said he can still hear something moving in there at night, footsteps that sound like his father's. Sheriff Pritchard quit, moved to Colorado to live with his daughter. Before he left, he came to my house, handed me a folder. My grandfather's notes, he said. Everything he knew about 1952. Won't help you save those people in the mirrors, but maybe you can keep others out. Inside were handwritten pages detailing Margaret Sutton's last days, how she'd volunteered, thinking her sacrifice would end it, how the sheriff had watched her walk up to a mirror at midnight, how her reflection had reached out and pulled her in, how she'd looked back once from inside the glass, mouthed, "I'm sorry," before the darkness swallowed her. The notes ended with one sentence: "This is not over." It is never over. We have only postponed it. Gil and I organized town meetings, handed out flyers, created the Facebook group that now has 12,000 members across Kansas. The message is simple. Cover your mirrors at night. Don't make eye contact with your reflection. If you see it, do something you didn't do. Run. 3 more people have died since that night. 2 in Dodge City, 1 in Liberal. We tried to warn them, but information travels slow in rural towns, and some folks just don't want to believe until it's too late. The bodies are still found near mirrors. The victims are still trapped inside, preserved behind dark glass, existing in some space between death and life. I see Esperanza sometimes when I drive past the truck stop at night. Her face appears in the windows, pressed against glass that isn't there, mouth forming words I'll never hear. I don't sleep well anymore. Keep expecting to see my reflection standing at the foot of my bed, grinning. Every piece of glass in my house is covered or gone. I shave using my phone camera, brush my teeth staring at the wall. Sometimes I forget what I look like. Maybe that's better. Ruthie Hoffman called last week, said she'd visited her mother's grave and swore she saw Bertie's reflection in the polished granite headstone. I told her to have it replaced with rough stone. She did. The thing about living in a town where mirrors kill you is that you start questioning everything. Every window at night becomes suspect, every puddle of water, every polished surface. We're learning to live without seeing ourselves. And maybe that's what it wanted all along, to make us invisible to our own eyes. I still have the fragments from my reflection, kept in the mason jar in my garage. They haven't dissolved completely. Sometimes, late at night, I hear them whispering, telling me I could have been better, could have been fixed. Maybe they're right, but I'm still here. Still broken, still alive, on this side of the glass. And those people trapped in the mirrors, Esperanza, Bertie, Vernon, Callista, Buck, Margaret Sutton, they're counting on people like me to keep warning others, to keep breaking mirrors, to keep fighting. So that's what I'm doing. That's why I'm telling you the story. Cover your mirrors. And for God's sake, don't look.